More.
Raise the room! Yeah. We have a new theme song. Mike, can I sing our new theme song?
You have a new theme song? No, no.
Okay, thank you.
Before? No.
Yes.
I'd rather have you not sing that theme song. That's what you want to call it.
Oh, it's a big weekend.
Yes,
huge
weekend, unbelievably big week. We're only talking about a few of the movies that are opening this weekend, but this is a gigantic week for some strange, very peculiar reason.
Well, but will Inception be #1, or
Yes.
will Dinner for Schmucks, which we'll talk about in a second, will that be #1?
Inception, still #1.
Still #1.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right, so we have Inception that we talked about last week, which we thought was, the more I think about it, the more I still like it.
Flawed, but I wouldn't disrecommend it. It's you know.
I didn't know we were inventing words tonight on the show.
I know, but disrecommend.
We don't pay extra for that.
I know.
We don't pay anything actually.
I invent new words. I invent new words when the vocabulary is not satisfactory.
To you.
To me. We need to, it's like disincentive. I don't disrecommend the movie.
Okay, Webster, whatever you say.
Yes.
All right, so even though Inception will probably still be #1.
Correct.
We have 3 films opening this week. One of them is very big. So I say we get right into This Weekend in Movies.
All right, we are going to first start off. We're not going to get to Dinner for Schmucks yet. We're going to talk about a film right now called Get Low, which is a really, really cool little independent film that took, believe it or not, almost 10 years to get this thing together. Even after they had Robert Duvall and Sissy Spacek attached, it wasn't until Bill Murray came on board that this thing really, really took flight. Let's show you a scene from it.
What do you think?
I wouldn't know you, sir.
Well, maybe the devil won't either. It just might work out. Now, where are the shoes?
Normally, people don't wear shoes in a casket, so... What are you, about 10D?
Suit coat and trousers, it's going to be $13.19, and the shoes, another $6.50. It'll be $19.69 total.
How you fix for underwear?
I don't wear none.
One question too many.
So Duvall plays Felix Bush. He's a Tennessee hermit from 1938 who's been living in self-imposed exile for 40 years. And in this town, there's sort of a legend as to who is this guy Felix Bush. He's been living in this house for 40 years, self-imposed exile. He becomes sort of this crazy hermit legend that no one ever sees. Suddenly he emerges and he enters Bill Murray's funeral home because Felix would like to plan his funeral. The twist is that Felix wants to plan the funeral and throw the funeral while he's still alive. So Bill Murray, of course, in the totally wry Bill Murray way, thinks this is crazy, but Felix insists. And so the movie is about Felix and Bill Murray planning this funeral. Also, we slowly get to know why Robert Duvall, why Felix Bush put himself in this self-imposed exile for so many years, and you get to realize the tragedies of his life and what the real purpose behind the funeral is. Now, what I liked about the movie is obviously the 2 central performances from Robert Duvall and from Bill Murray. I thought that the director, Aaron Schneider, did a terrific job. It was first film, very well shot. The period stuff from the late 1930s looks authentic and terrific. Here's what I didn't like about it, which sort of keeps me from recommending it super highly. One is that when you finally find out why he wants to throw a funeral while he's alive, it's very interesting and important to him, not interesting to me. I thought, meh, it wasn't really worth the build-up. Something else, too, that I thought was unexplored is that you have this guy, Felix Bush, who's been living in this tiny house all by himself for 40 years. And in the town itself, this legend has built up around him. What do people think? The stories that they know about him that have been handed down, they've got to be crazy, right? Because this guy's like a legend. No one's ever seen him, but they all have crazy stories. I thought it was interesting how you have a guy who is living like a mile down the road. No one's seen him for 40 years, yet there's this legend built up around him, and I wanted to hear what the townsfolk thought of this guy. I wanted, in today's media society where you draw opinions on people without knowing anything, here's something in 1938 that actually happened in this story. but it was not explored at all.
Well, it's the story is based in truth. There actually is. I don't know how much license they took in sort of massaging it, and manipulating it for the sake of a film, but it is based in an actual guy and who really was a hermit, and a lot of the backstory is apparently accurate as well. I agree with both of your reservations. I think there's a lot of build-up for a moment that winds up not really justifying the build-up. It's sort of like, oh my gosh, why were you a hermit all those years? Well, I had a sore toe. You know, it's not quite like that.
Away!
I know. It's not quite like that, but you're sort of like, wow, really? That okay, I guess. I mean, it doesn't give you the wallop that you're expecting given the build-up. And yeah, it would have been nice to hear some of those stories, but at the same time, it is so beautifully photographed. The guy Schneider, who directed it, was formerly a cinematographer, so he brings a lot of this really strong visual sense to the film. I think it's beautifully shot. The acting, I mean, come on, Robert Duvall, Sissy Spacek, even without Bill Murray, just those two alone. It's an acting clinic. There's just so much elegance and grace, and it's just such a joy to watch them work that I really didn't even care about the other stuff. I just loved looking at it. I loved watching them work. It was just a joy to sit through.
You know, what's funny about Duvall and Murray is that they both have similar acting styles. They're very interior. Now, Murray is very interior, but he's always got that smirk going on.
Yeah.
Right? He's not a flamboyant, even though he's a comedy guy, he's not a flamboyant actor. He's very interior, yet there's that smirk. Duvall, also very interior, also very quiet, but it's a very dramatic sort of quiet.
Yeah.
And it's a quiet that in its own way speaks volumes.
It is. Well, Duvall is sort of like that storm on the horizon. You feel, you don't even need to wait till the storm hits to know that it's a storm, to feel its presence, to sort of be impressed and overwhelmed by it. So he knows that you're aware of his power, and he just sort of holds it back. And it's he's becoming a master at it, even as he gets older. I mean, the guy is just still getting better and better and better. And Sissy Spacek the same way. She's very minimalist in interior as well. I mean, there are moments where she just doesn't need to do anything except just let you look in her eyes. So on that count, I mean, I just think it's a wonderful film. Is it perfect? No, it surely could have been better. But good grief, compared to any number of other big studio films this summer, save your money, go see the little movie.
You know, there's also a decent character played by Lucas Black.
Yeah.
And he plays a guy who works at the funeral parlor.
I like him.
He's good in this.
Yeah.
He plays a guy who works at the funeral parlor, and his job is to sort of cart Duvall around, because Duvall is old, he can't drive anymore, but Duvall has plans for this funeral, so Lucas Black is the one who has to drive him around. And what I liked about the character is that character became the audience surrogate, because Lucas Black is the character who says, where are we going, why are we going there? And you learn about Duvall's character a little bit through Lucas Black.
And Lucas Black is one of those actors. He's been around a long time. He was a kid actor before this. If you remember The War with Kevin Costner,
sure,
he was one of the kids in that. And Lucas Black has been sort of pigeonholed because of his very, very thick Southern accent. You know, it's one of those cases. It's sort of what Andie MacDowell had to try and fight when she lost her accent. He keeps getting cast as, hicks and hillbillies and rednecks, and he's really a better actor than that. And I hope they get over that stigma where if you want someone to be something other than a Southerner, that you can't have a Southern accent. It's okay if they talk with a little bit of a twang, as long as they're really good actors, and he's a really good actor.
Well, here it was necessary. Here it's 1938
yeah, absolutely.
Tennessee.
He fits, but he should be getting other chances as well, and that shouldn't handicap him.
And it's funny when you look at a movie like this, and you don't get this a lot, where the pace and the tone of the movie sort of matches its main character.
Yeah.
Because you get this guy, Felix Bush. He's old, he's slow, he has regrets, he has secrets, and the movie never really gets exciting. It moves at the pace of this character.
Yeah.
And I thought that together, they really created like an interesting, kind of very slow momentum as you start to learn about this guy and figure out what the real deal is behind this funeral. Why does he want to do it?
True.
And there's some intrigue there with money that was raised to put on the funeral and what happens to it and whatnot.
Yeah.
But all that is not as important as finding out what happened to Felix. And ultimately, as I say, I didn't really care that much.
No.
It didn't bother you as much.
No.
You were on board.
I'm okay.
You're okay with that.
I'm totally okay with
You're
it.
okay with not caring.
I'm okay with
You don't care, you don't care.
I am okay with just the great feeling of the movie. The movie made me feel, and that's enough.
Wow.
What happened?
It made me think. We gotta go to the next movie. Two shot. Let's go to the next movie, please. Made me feel.
Every week.
So,
This is what we do. This is Thursday evening for us. This is must-see TV.
In fact,
right
you know
here.
what? Before the show started, we did this anyway. We broke into this garage and started doing this show with no cameras and no audience. All right, Wade, so that's Get Low.
Yes.
A very good film. I had mild reservations. You had very mild reservations.
I had a few quibbles, but they're not. They're bits. They're quibbles and bits.
Okay. We'll be right back.
Okay.
Okay. So next, Wade, is a film that is not only excellent, but it is historically important.
Okay. The next film, even if you start to roll your eyes and think, "Oh, this is Wade going off another one of his elitist foreign film rants."
Film?
Yes. Elitist. Elitist.
This is a film about cats?
No. This is a film you have to see because it's a great cautionary tale. It's called Henri-Georges Clouzot's Inferno. This is so historically significant for so many reasons, and even if you've never heard of Clouzot, not to be confused with the Peter Sellers character from the Pink Panther films, you do need to see the film because it's an education and a little mini film school all in one. This also is the film that won our top critics prize at the recent City of Lights, City of Angels festival. I was on the jury. We've never given it to a doc before. We gave it to a doc this time. Out of 20 some odd films, this is the one that won. We're going to show a clip first, and then we'll tell you just what in blazes you were looking at.
Wait. Adam, what'd you say?
Lindsay Lohan, the second she gets out of jail.
There we go. Okay, no, you are not looking at a new Calvin Klein ad. Here's what this movie is. Henri-Georges Clouzot, one of the great French directors of the 50s and 60s. You probably know him from Wages of Fear, Diabolique. He made amazing thrillers. He was sort of considered the Hitchcock of Europe. Intense, gritty, gripping thrillers. Diabolique and The Wages of Fear, which was remade as Sorcerer in the 70s, are amazing films. He was so successful at the time that he was able to get an American studio, Columbia, to grant him an unlimited budget on his next film, Inferno. Now, Inferno was going to be this kind of psychosexual analysis of a couple unraveling while at a Swiss resort, and it's a guy and his wife. That's Maria Schneider that you see, who was all the rage in the 60s. They were at the resort, and he starts to suspect his wife of having an affair with a guy at the resort, and it's about what goes on psychologically, internally, to tear this marriage apart. And he shot dream sequences, and he shot psychedelic stuff, and it was supposed to all be very, very experimental and avant-garde. Problem is, as you can imagine, when you have an unlimited budget and a temperamental director who's a bit of an egomaniac, okay, a huge egomaniac, this thing just shot for months and months and months. Actors are walking off. Everything is going catastrophically wrong. Flash forward over 40 years, and no one has ever seen a frame of this footage. The movie was never finished, and Clouzot's widow has been sitting on this footage for decades, until finally there's a documentarian who gets caught in an elevator, and this is backstory to the film, gets caught in an elevator with her, and while they're trapped in the elevator, he discovers that this is Clouzot's widow, and thus begins a multi-year odyssey of him attempting to convince her to let him make this documentary, until finally he succeeded where hundreds of others apparently had failed, and he's able to put this documentary together. It is, the documentary does not have any audio from the film because none of it survives. All they have are bits and pieces of raw footage, without any audio, and then they have recreated scenes from the script using actual present-day French actors, some of whom you may recognize if you're a fan of French cinema. The story of how everything goes catastrophically wrong is amazing. This is one of the great everything goes wrong documentaries about filmmaking ever made. It goes right up there with Burden of Dreams, the Les Blanc film about Fitzcarraldo and how Werner Herzog completely lost his mind, right up there.
Lost in La Mancha.
Lost in La Mancha, the story of Terry Gilliam going completely bonkers and everything going wrong while making his Johnny Depp film about Don Quixote.
And Hearts of Darkness, too.
And Hearts of Darkness, the incredible film about the making of Apocalypse Now. The difference being all of those movies had they had extensive behind-the-scenes footage. This doesn't have any. So everything is recreated with interviews, with what snippets they have from the remaining footage, backstory, and it's so polished you don't even notice that there's anything, that there are even gaps in what they might need to tell you the story. It's an incredible film, incredible in every facet, well made, and an amazing story.
It is. You know what? It's a great film. And what's interesting when you read about it and learn up on the backstory is that Clouzot was making this film during the French New Wave. Now Truffaut and some of these other guys, they wanted nothing to do with scripts. They wanted nothing to do with the way that Clouzot made his films, which was storyboarded and
intensely Hollywood. Actually, the way he made his films.
And I think that Clouzot felt that Inferno was going to be his response to these new wave directors who rejected his work.
Yeah.
You know, so it was funny because I know that Clouzot was quoted as saying, "I improvise on paper."
Yeah.
That was his line. And what's great about the movie is that you realize how Clouzot, he almost went mad trying to, in fact, he had a heart attack.
Yeah.
He had a heart attack towards the making of the film when people were walking off.
Yeah.
And there were plenty of surviving crew members
to
talk about how difficult he was. There are plenty of people, actually the great Costa Gavras, director of Z, is interviewed extensively in the film. And there is some great footage. It was experimental because what you learn in the film is that actually the present day footage, the actual real life footage of this couple was in black and white, but the fantasies and the dreams
are all in color.
Were in color.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. And him shooting all that crazy stuff you saw in the clip, most of it was for these dream sequences. And you start to realize that when you see a movie like Dinner for Schmucks, it's basically a bunch of guys trying to get home before dinner. But there are people like Clouzot who really, they feel it. And when they make a film, it's like their soul. It consumes them. You know?
And the other lesson that you always learn in these movies is don't give someone an unlimited budget. Don't say to Terry, Terry Gilliam didn't have an unlimited budget. That was a problem in that film. But in these others, sort of like, oh yeah, take all the time you want. You got all the money in the world. No, don't. Because if you give them all the time they want and all the money in the world, they will use it. Like $100 million and 10 years down the line, they're still going to be shooting.
The only director who, it seemed, could spend whatever he wanted was Stanley Kubrick.
Yeah.
Stanley Kubrick could pretty much spend whatever he wanted.
And he did on Eyes Wide Shut.
And he did. And by the way, a lot of that's...
What, 2 years in principal photography?
It was 2 years in principal photography.
Like $150 million?
And also, a lot of that money was music rights.
Yeah.
He wanted to use the songs he wanted to use.
Yeah.
But nowadays, you don't get that. People look at Spielberg and they say, oh, Spielberg, do whatever he wants. No, he's got a budget.
Yeah.
He's got to stick to the budget. That's it. And frankly, one of the reasons why Spielberg continues to make movies is because he sticks to the budget.
And he's a real stickler. Look, Jurassic Park was made for like $65 million, which even at the time was unbelievable.
Right.
So
if you want to see a movie, and eventually it'll be on DVD and you can rent it easily.
Which we should say, this is the first ever theatrical release from Flicker Alley, who will release it on DVD as well. Flicker Alley, a very, very small DVD company, typically only does silent films and archival releases and, really very, very old artsy kind of a DVD distributor. This is their first foray into theatrical releasing, and it is a great pickup. So please support them.
Go
and see this movie.
Actually, good for them because this is an important film. It's a very good film. It'll be nominated for Best Documentary Oscar come Oscar time. How could it not be?
I'm hoping.
I'm hoping.
So
Inferno, Henri-Georges Clouzot's Inferno, very highly recommended by Wade Mark.
Unbelievable.
All right, so Wade, what's next?
Next is Dinner for Schmucks. Long as we're on, what am I? Do we have a card? Did I miss something? There we go.
How do you care what they look at that?
That's it. I just want to see it. That's okay. All right.
The card says it all.
Oh no, this is all going wrong.
Oh, it is. As long as we're on French cinema, Dinner for Schmucks is based on not just a remake of, inspired by. That's what the credits say, inspired by the film The Dinner Game. Now, The Dinner Game was a 1998 film by French comedy director Francis Weber that was actually based on his own stage play. And it was a relatively contained comedy about a premise that will be detailed in this clip.
Some people collect vintage automobiles.
Some people collect fine wines. Fender collects people.
People?
Yeah.
Each of us finds a remarkable person and invites them to dinner at Fender's. We call it the Dinner for Winners. Here's the guy that I invited last year. There you go. Look at that. Guy designed that suit. Real life Iron Man. He took first prize.
He's an idiot.
You got it.
You invite idiots to dinner and make fun of them?
That's messed up.
Okay, so here are the problems with this. And the problems have nothing to do with any of the people who necessarily are key players in the film. Jay Roach, great comedy director, Meet the Parents. I love Jay Roach. I think he's very talented. Paul Rudd, can't get enough. He's terrific in this. Steve Carell, hilarious in this. I mean, really good. A lot of bit comedy actors show up in this, from everyone from Little Britain to Flight of the Conchords.
Zach Galifianakis.
Zach Galifianakis shows up. I mean, it's almost like it's a mad world all of a sudden, just comics showing up left and right. All very talented people. But therein partly lies the problem. When we remake other countries' movies in Hollywood, somehow the idea less is more never enters anyone's mind. They think, if big is great, bigger is better. If one mouse scaring an elephant is funny, 100 mice scaring 1,000 elephants is going to be hilarious. And so everything is amped up. Everything is turned up to 11 and overcranked, and the result is that it loses a certain charm. It loses something in the translation, and it winds up not being quite as funny because it feels like everyone is trying just a little bit too hard to do something that came relatively easily when it was done very naturally and unobtrusively in the original film. The premise is still great. The French film is hilarious. If you've never seen The Dinner Game, rent it, because it really is just a precious, hilarious, very funny little movie. Basically the same story. In many ways, I think this kind of a film in American films has been done better by even stuff like the much maligned, unfairly maligned The Cable Guy, What About Bob, all these movies about unwelcome visitors, tag-alongs who wreak havoc with someone's life in a Jerry Lewis kind of a way. I think we've done that better here with different kinds of films, and I wish they'd have left The Dinner Game alone.
Well, it's not that The Dinner Game can't be, I don't mean improved, but there can be an American riff on The Dinner Game. The problem is that the one that they decided to do was very formulaic.
Yeah.
This is a very formulaic movie, and it's also, in its own way, a kind of a safe movie.
It's too safe.
It's a little too safe. And I'll say this about Steve Carell. I like him a lot, blah, blah, blah. He's starting to get a little oversaturated. I'm getting a little over Steve Carell. He's got to stop doing everything. But my issue with the film, although I did think it was funny, I thought there was some funny stuff in it. The guys who did the puppets for Team America, which is one of my all-time favorite comedies, the guys who did the puppets for Team America designed these dioramas for the film. In the movie, Steve Carell, who plays the idiot who's being invited to this dinner, he collects dead mice and then makes them into dioramas, like The Last Supper with all the dead mice, right? And famous paintings like the Edvard Munch Scream with a dead mouse. And I got to tell you, those are very funny. Those are great.
They are funny, but in the Dinner Game, he made like little cities out of matchsticks.
Wait, it's not
It's
the Dinner
funnier.
Game. So well, that's fine. It doesn't mean this can't be funny.
But I'm just saying, you take it that extra level, and you're losing something. You're becoming more elaborate. A guy who makes things out of matchsticks. There are a lot of people who do that. And then the funny isn't the matchsticks. The funny is how obsessed this guy is with his matchsticks. It's like how into it he is. Here, you're like, well, I don't know if all of these dioramas with mice are that funny, because it's kind of impressive.
I mean,
it really is. You're sort of like, I'm sorry, you can make fun of it, but that's insane. I mean, the whole opening title sequence is how intricate and how meticulous, in the sewing the little hats and the little clothes. It's like, you can't help but be impressed in a weird way and go, I'm sorry, I'm not going to make fun of that. That is impressive.
By the way, you know, for the opening credit sequence, they used the Beatles' Fool on the Hill.
Yeah.
Now, they actually used the Beatles Full on the Hill.
Which probably was half the budget.
Which cost them $1.5 million. And Jay Roach had to write Paul McCartney a letter saying exactly why he wanted to use it, how it was the only song that could ever start his movie. He didn't have a plan B. Can you please sell him the rights to this song? And McCartney did. You know?
You know what? Rick Nelson's Poor Little Fool would have been just as good, a lot cheaper.
Wait, coming out with the Rick Nelson Poor Little Fool. How does that go?
Poor Little Fool. That's all I'm going to do. I don't know.
Come on.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. There we go. Yeah.
I'm not going to. I won't start talking again until the whole song's done.
Oh yes. Well, that would end of the show. Show's over.
The end of the internet. So here's the thing. I likened it a little bit to Date Night. Hang on.
Yeah.
Not that it was as bad as Date Night, because very few things are. But I just felt as if you have these people who are very talented. You put them together and you put them in this big bloated studio thing that is very formulaic, doesn't really take any chances, and it's okay. It's okay.
Look, there are moments in it where I laughed a lot, but does it hang together as a whole? No, it doesn't. It has too many problems, and it's not worth your money. It's not worth your money. It's not worth the money.
So
save your money.
So what you're saying, Wade, it's not worth the money.
No.
So you should take the money you would spend on that and go see Inferno.
Yeah, yeah, or go see Get Low. Get Low's a good movie.
Get Low's a good movie too.
Get Low's a good
movie. All right,
movie.
so let's recap the weekend. Now we have Inception, that'll be #1 anyway.
Yeah, it'll be.
Salt, you think? Here's the thing: Dinner for Schmucks or Salt, #2.
Dinner for Schmucks.
Dinner for Schmucks will be number 2.
Yeah.
I'm thinking. What do you think? Over or under 30 for Dinner for Schmucks?
Right about there.
Right about
31, 32 maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Write that down. If he's wrong, we kill a puppy.
Oh my God! Awesome.
I'm just saying.
We can't even eat.
It was Mike's idea. So all right. So it'll be Inception, Dinner for Schmucks, followed by Salt.
Yes. And this goes to validate what I've been saying for a long time, which is Angelina Jolie is not a star. She's a celebrity, but she's not a star. She cannot open movies. Putting her in a movie is not going to get people out to see it. Putting her on the cover of the Inquirer or People or Us, it'll get people to buy the magazine, but people aren't going to go to see her in a movie. She just doesn't have a draw. And I think it's sad because she's a terrific actress, and I think she's really good in Salt. But for some reason, she just doesn't bring them out, men or women. They just aren't drawn to see her opening weekend.
It seems like there needs to be something else there. Like if it's Angelina Jolie playing Lara Croft, you'll go see it.
Yeah,
if it's Angelina Jolie playing a CIA agent, you'll go see it.
I don't know. I don't know. There definitely has been a decrease in the star draw. Yeah, it's true. And it's weird. It's just within the past 5 or 6 years. But it used to be, you put Jim Carrey, you put Tom Hanks, you put Tom Cruise, you put...
Yeah, because all those guys want $20 million.
Julia Roberts, you put them in your movie, bam, you're guaranteed 20, 30 million. They alone justify their salary based on what they bring in the opening weekend. And that's what a star is. A star is someone who can open a movie. If you can't open a movie, you're not a star. But you can be a celebrity, but you're not a star.
But I think that actually bodes well for the industry, because here you've got to sell it on the story, the concept, everything around it, and not just put all your eggs in Jim Carrey.
Fine. Then why aren't costs coming down? If you're not spending $20 million on a star, you don't need that $20 million star.
Wait,
why are movies more expensive than ever?
What did I say? Stop the show.
Your eggs in Jim Carrey. Your eggs in Jim Carrey.
I can't get a break on this goddamn show.
You can't.
It's unbelievable.
It's like last week. Just like last week.
It is just like last week. That wasn't as bad though. This week I could justify.
Oh, I'll tell you. If we had pictures of you putting eggs in Jim Carrey, that would be bad. That would be bad.
All right, so there you go.
Great marketing, though.
Very good.
Great marketing.
All right, so there you go. So it'll be Inception, Dinner for Schmucks, and Salt.
Yeah.
So says Wade and Mark this weekend in movies. All right, here we go. Wait, look. Comic-Con finally wrapped up.
Oh.
Can I say something about
goodness.
Comic-Con? I've never been. I don't want to go. It looks like a cluster F. I have no interest.
And I'm not a communist, so I wouldn't be interested in it either.
Wait a minute.
It's for communists, isn't it?
Con?
Oh, Wade.
Isn't that what? Isn't it for commies? Comic-Con? It's not for commies?
Can we just get the news, please?
Wade, this week Wade made me laugh and he made me cry.
Yeah.
All right, so wait a second. So speaking of Comic-Con, it's time for the news. Chad!
Hey guys, how's it going?
Hello, Chad. What's cooking in the news?
Oliver Stone has recently belittled the Holocaust in a recent interview with the Sunday Times. claiming that America's obsession with the World War II atrocity is a product of the, quote, Jewish domination of the media, unquote. He also expressed a fondness for Iran and Venezuelan President Hugo Chavez. I called Mel Gibson for a comment on this story, and he described Stone's words as touching and really, really awesome. Then he went on a 20-minute screaming rant, threatened to burn my house down, and hung up the phone. That is the last time I call Mel Gibson for comments.
By the way, may I remind Oliver Stone that those Jews pay for his movies.
Yeah, yeah.
They really do bank close up.
Look,
Oliver Stone's out of his mind. Oliver Stone, you know what? He does these documentaries now where all he does is cozy up to these communist dictators. He did Commandant, which was a sit down with Fidel Castro. And a couple months ago, he did South of the Border,
Hugo Chavez.
It was a big, wet kiss to Hugo Chavez.
I got to tell you, I interviewed Oliver Stone for that article that I wrote for the DGA Quarterly that I did about Costa Gavras about however many months ago. Last year. And so I talked to Oliver Stone for about 7 minutes on the phone. He was scouting locations he was on a location scout or something, or a tech scout for Wall Street too. And I got to tell you, it was interesting. It was like talking to a really, really brilliant schizophrenic. And I've never been a huge fan of his movies, I got to tell you. I mean, you know, a lot of them I think are crap. I think some things like U-Turn actually amaze me, are very entertaining in a weird way. I hate Natural Born Killers. But I think he's talented. I think, you know, I love some of his early, I love Scarface, great script for Scarface, great script for Midnight Express. But you could tell that there was some kind of residual damage there. It's a lot like Mel Gibson. Something got into that brain and kind of shut off a few synapses, and I think things are taking detours where they should be going straight and going straight where they should be going left, and I don't think it all quite works as well as it should.
No, and I'm not sure what made him take this turn to this bizarre leftist politics. Look, the guy's hitching his wagon to Cesar Chavez, who oppresses his people.
Hugo Chavez.
Oh yeah, that guy. He's hitching his wagon. Yeah. He oppresses his people.
I know.
Hugo Chavez runs the state media.
I know.
You literally have to run every second of every Hugo Chavez speech on the television.
Yeah.
And if you don't, you're thrown in jail.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I mean, come on.
And also, Chavez is on Fox News. New show.
You know, and Sean Penn's the same way. Sean Penn loves Hugo Chavez.
Yeah, and Danny Glover. There are a lot of them.
Danny Glover loves Hugo Chavez.
Oh yeah, big time. Made a movie for him. Didn't you know that?
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
yeah.
Ooh, so Mel Gibson and Danny Glover, both of them
going a little crazy.
Going a little crazy.
It's the curse of the Lethal Weapon films.
That's right.
I don't know.
All right, Chad, what else you got for us?
Lost screenwriter Damon Lindelof has just closed a deal to write the prequel to Ridley Scott's 1979 classic, Alien. This is very exciting to me as a die-hard Lost fan. Ooh, I hope they cast Hurley. That would be great, because when Hurley first sees the alien, he'll be all like, dude. And then they'll cut to a commercial. It's going to be a great movie, possibly even as great as Alien 4 Resurrection.
Ooh.
Directed by Jean-Pierre Jeunet.
Well, he's actually rewriting it, I think, is officially isn't that the word? I mean, nobody really has the skinny on this film.
Well, the only thing people know is that it involves the space jockey, which was the big monster skeleton deal that was seen in the first one.
Yeah.
And where did the space jockey come from?
I don't know that I want to know where it came from.
Well, here are the options.
It's like finding out where the monolith comes from in 2001. Some things are best left a mystery.
Well, here are the options. Yeah. The best option is you don't make a new Alien film. That's the best option.
Yeah.
Now, up from that, you have an option that involves more humans.
Yeah.
Or the only other character in the original Alien that could be spun off into anything would be the space jockey, because there was nobody else in the film. It was just the crew members of the Nostromo and the space jockey.
Because the space jockey is enormous, is a giant living thing. In the original Alien, they didn't have CGI, so they were able to just make the skeletal remains of the space jockey right there. But now we're going to have to CGI some kind of Goliath freak, and it's just going to be horrible.
See, that's the thing. Will the movie be about the space jockey species on the alien planet? So now you've got two sets of alien species on this planet fighting it out. I just don't see how that's going to work.
And the aliens will be tiny compared to the space jockey. They'll be like pests.
Yeah, that's great. You know, there was a movie last year that had really giant aliens. It was Avatar, and I don't have strong. I love the idea of Ridley revisiting it, but Ridley today versus Ridley then is a very different guy. That was a young, hungry guy. This guy now, he's fat and rich, and
the thing is that
I don't
Ridley
know that
Scott,
he's still hungry.
Ridley Scott doesn't make the films that he made then. Alien is, and people don't realize that Alien is an amazing piece of filmmaking.
Oh, it's incredible.
And editing. It is so tense and is so scary. And it's not. It's exactly the opposite of the Cameron one.
It's the opposite of Robin Hood. I mean, if you look at Robin Hood, the guy that made that is not the guy who made Alien by any stretch.
No, and I don't think I'm not sure he can make that anymore.
I don't know.
You know?
I don't think so.
I think with Ridley Scott, you'll be great. If Ridley Scott says it's going to cost me $150 million to make the new Alien, you know what? Give him 75. I bet he'll force him to be resourceful.
Give him 50.
You know what? I have $10 on me. Let's get some money.
I got a quarter in the car.
Is that exactly?
I got $3.
Parking meter
J-Mac
money.
has $3.
There you go.
Done and done. Ridley, call me. All right, Chad. What else?
Comic-Con 2010 wrapped up this past weekend. I was there, and I had a great time. Here's proof. Here I am at Comic-Con. Hey, Tusken Raider. Thanks for killing my mother, jerk. Oh, hi, Tommy. Hey, Darth Maul, your leg's called. They say they miss you. You are lying. I never asked you for an autograph. You're tearing me apart, Tommy. Oh, some cool stuff around here. Oh, God, how could they do that? Oh, I've got to get out of here. I'll be next. Yeah, it was pretty amazing. The trailer for the new Thor movie, starring Chris Hemsworth and directed by master thespian Kenneth Branagh, also premiered at Comic-Con, and this made me as happy as a Viking in a mead hall.
One way or another, we find out what we want to know. We're good at that. It's not easy to do what you did. You made my men, some of the most highly trained professionals in the world, look like a bunch of minimum wage mall cops. In my experience, it takes someone who's received similar training to do what you did to them. Why don't you tell me where you received that training? Afghanistan? Chechnya? No, you strike me more as the soldier of fortune type. Who are you?
I have sacrificed much to achieve peace. So too must a new generation sacrifice to maintain that peace. Responsibility, duty, honor. These are not mere virtues to which we must aspire. They are essential to every soldier, to every king. Thor, Odin's son, through your arrogance and stupidity, you have opened these peaceful realms and innocent lives to the horror and devastation of war. You are a vain, greedy, cruel boy.
And you are an old man and a fool!
Yes, I was a fool. To think you were ready.
Father.
You're unworthy of your title! I now take from you your power! In the name of my father and his father before, I cast you out!
Please open your eyes.
Oh no, this is Earth, isn't it?
Where'd it come from? You know, for a crazy homeless person, he's pretty cut. Describe exactly what happened to you last night.
Your ancestors called it magic. And you call it science. I come from a place where they're one and the same.
We are on the verge of understanding something extraordinary.
All the answers you seek will be yours once I reclaim what's mine.
Whoever wields this hammer, if he be worthy, shall possess the power of Thor.
The line of succession falls to you. Asgard is yours.
For the first time in my life, I have no idea what I'm supposed to do.
I am now ruler of Asgard. I am your king.
Asgard is in danger.
He has disobeyed the express command of his king. His fate is in his own hands now.
Is that one of Stark's? I don't know. Guy never tells me anything.
Hello! You are using unregistered weapons technology. Identify yourself.
Here we go.
Incoming!
That is exclusive, Wade, exclusive.
Pretty nice.
It's great stuff.
I gotta tell you, I am an old comic book fan. When I was a kid, I loved comic books, but there are only certain superheroes I ever really responded to. Batman, big time. Green Lantern, big time. I was always a big DC guy. But of the Marvel heroes, Thor was always it. Always big on Thor. And as we talked about last week, you know, I'm big on Vikings for any reason, but you know, Viking gods.
Because we both loved Valhalla Rising last week.
Rising.
So most likely, you won't see that again. We'll put it up.
Yeah.
But Marvel has actually pulled down every single person pretty much. Put that up.
You mean Disney has? Because Disney now owns Marvel. Right. So let's blame Disney. Let's go all the way up the ladder.
So yes, they showed it at Comic-Con. Then you can't put it up. We're gonna do it anyway. And we'll see what happens. How's that?
Why not? Mighty Thor. I mean, Kenneth Branagh, I'm glad he's getting a shot at doing something. You know, maybe he'll do more good Shakespeare movies again after this. Well, this will give him this will give him the cachet to go ahead and make real movies again.
Well, that's why he's an interesting choice for the film, because he has that Shakespearean thing going on, you know? Yeah. It's not like giving it to
Anthony Hopkins as Odin. Come on, give it up for the guy whose name has been is the root of the day that we call Wednesday.
What? I don't know what that meant.
Wednesday is Odin's day. Thursday is Thor's day.
You know what's even more amazing than that?
They should open the movie on a Thursday.
You know what's even more amazing than that?
Wouldn't that be smart?
No, it wouldn't be. All right.
Well, I don't know what
so
Chad's
the Thor
about.
is Jesus.
What did Chad?
We're trying to move it along here, Wade. No one cares about Wednesdays.
So we get out of Wade's.
That Thor's hammer is pretty great, huh? Not a lot of people know, but I have my own special hammer. It's right here. Pretty nice, huh? This hammer also gives me special powers. Check it out. Mighty Hammer of Chad. Give me a funny joke to wrap up this really boring news segment. By the power of Asgard, make me hilarious. Nope, didn't work. Maybe next time.
Chad does not need a hammer to be funny. He is naturally funny. All right, Chad, thank you very much. Chad Vader, everybody, come on with the news. Fantastic. Now, Wade, we have one more story.
One more quick news story, because a couple of weeks ago we talked about the turmoil at Overture and the possibility that films still in the pipeline at Overture might not get a proper release, might not get released at all, might get offloaded to somebody else. So we asked everybody to email a publicist over at Overture, and I don't know if we had an effect or not, but what has happened is that Relativity Media, which is run by Ryan Kavanaugh, who's basically the guy who's been putting together huge amounts of Wall Street money for years now to supplant the financing of big studio films. He created Relativity Media. Relativity Media has been very big with films released by Sony and by Universal, and they're now trying to sort of spin themselves off into their own thing. And they went and purchased the marketing and distribution arms of Overture, which means that effectively now Overture as a distribution company ceases to exist. Their library, nobody knows. That's going to go somewhere else. Relativity didn't want the Overture library. They just wanted the marketing and distribution mechanism. And they are now going to basically be responsible for Let Me In and
Jack Goes Boating.
And Jack Goes Boating.
But you know what? But the thing is that the Overture machinery was not big enough to release the stuff that Relativity does. Now, not that everything everything Legendary does, Legendary Pictures.
Yes, which works a lot with Warner Brothers.
That's right. I mean, they do a lot of big superhero films with Warner Brothers. Legendary, they're a big company, and they got Warner Brothers behind them, distributing their stuff. You know, Overture was a pretty small operation.
It was, but I think if you feed Relativity-sized money into Overture's two divisions, I think suddenly they're just going to grow proportionally and be able to do whatever Relativity needs.
Well, you'll have to grow. That's the thing.
And Relativity still has contracts with the big studios, so I mean, there's a transitional period here. But if you want to continue to support Let Me In, go to the website helpme.net. I talked to Adam Keane, the publicist at Overture, who appreciated, in a kind of backhand way, all of the sudden emails that he was not expecting from our listeners. So, way to go, listeners and viewers. But yeah.
Raise the roof on the streaming garage.
It's funny because I had this message. I had this message one day saying, "Thanks for the shout out on your show, but well, call me please." And I figured, the emails have arrived. So, it had an effect, and certainly we've let them know this support for the film. They had a very, very good moment at Comic-Con. Matt Reeves was down there, showed them a little bit of footage. Fans responded positively. So keep an eye out at helpme.net if you want to continue to support Let Me In, and more stuff will be revealed, I guess, as the weeks go on.
You know, and just to wrap this up, we had talked last week about how it looks like this stuff is really inside baseball. How does it affect me? It does. Does it affect Spider-Man 12? No. But it affects the little films, the medium-sized films that have a tough time getting out there, and they're always the films you wind up enjoying.
And once Relativity transitions to being its own standalone distribution company and pulls all of that money out of Sony and Universal and everywhere else, what are they going to do to replace that money? It's very interesting because they become very dependent on it. It's almost like a crack dealer saying, "I'm cutting you off." Like a bartender telling Mel Gibson. Like a bartender telling Mel Gibson.
He's got 3.
Closing you down.
Done. Ridley, call me. Oh, wait, that was 20 minutes ago.
Okay.
Okay, so there you go. That's the news, ladies and gentlemen. Woo! Chad and Wade with the news. Wade contributing. Okay, now, Wade, this is the time of the show when we would normally try this at home.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, trying it, homing it, and trying it.
Yeah, this will be the best one
and
ever.
Adding it.
So into it.
Well, here's the thing. Last week we recommended Altered States, and you guys have had a chance to watch it, but we kind of want to extend it and talk about it next week because we want to give you guys more of a chance. If you go on stupidformovies.com on the message boards, you'll see we got a couple people who participated. They wrote in what they thought of it, and they loved it. So we thought, you know what? Let's give people another week.
Get more.
Get people another week.
More.
You can get it on Netflix.
So basically, here's what we're going to do. Also, try this at home. I think we're going to do it a little less, not weekly, because a lot of people, they get Netflix, they can't get it in time, they have to order it, they get it through the mail. Not everybody does instant download. So we are going to possibly retool it. You're still going to have homework. We're just going to bring in special guests occasionally. We're probably not going to do it weekly. But we'll see. And write in the message board. Tell us what you think. If you want to keep doing it weekly, maybe bi-weekly, maybe once a month, maybe only when we have a special guest in. You tell us what you think.
Yes, and meanwhile, you'll have an extra week to watch Altered States, so no excuses.
Which is featured on Xbox Live Netflix. It's featured in Sci-Fi Fantasy. It's like the 5th film down.
Interesting.
Very easy to find.
What he said.
If only he was
mic'd.
mic'd.
They did that because you guys picked it.
They can hear.
They did not.
Oh yeah, Microsoft is really into the show.
Oh, they love the show. Microsoft, call me. Steve Ballmer, call me. All right, so you have an extra week to watch Altered States. By the way, later on in the show, we're going to have a very special YouTube announcement. Big news, Wade.
Yeah.
You don't know about this news because you were on the computer before the show started.
Oh, I heard.
No, you didn't.
I multitask.
You were not paying attention. Now, we have a very exciting announcement
I'm
later in the show regarding YouTube, a new way to watch the show. We want you guys to unsubscribe to Stupid for Movies because we got a whole new YouTube streaming garage channel happening, which we will explain in more detail later. But first...
that was pretty much it. That's about it. Wow, that was...
How do I know?
Let me tell you the news now, but I'll tease it, and then I'll tell you the same news in about 5 minutes.
Or just tease it later.
First of all, how do I know that Pooposterous was watching? Maybe Pooposterous wasn't watching.
No,
Where was Martha S?
Martha S is not there. Pooposterous is right now in the chat room live.
And Pooposterous, did you get that?
Well,
I'm talking to you, Poop. All right, guys, it's time for Buy, Rent, or Burn. Come on.
Just one of those Thursdays.
What up? Why is the show? This show. This is a
perfect.
fine show.
This is good. I'm happy. I don't know what J-Mac's problem
Full moon.
is.
What is J-Mac's problem?
It's a full moon or something.
He's always like
he has gas.
Corey says that J-Mac has gas.
All right.
All right,
Okay.
so let's buy, rent, or burn.
As you know, you guys, name a DVD, name a movie. Mark and Wade will tell you if you should buy it, rent it, or burn it. They have never seen these before. We took them from the chat room. So this kind of tests their knowledge, but we're not here to stump them. We're here to actually find out what movies they recommend. Buy, rent, or burn. The first one from Tejas74 in the chat room. The Russians Are Coming.
Oh,
the Russians are coming. The Russians are coming. The Norman Jewison film.
Yeah, I think you buy that. That is a really great comedy.
You know what? It is a good
great
film.
kind of mid-Cold War comedy.
Yes, I say buy that. And it was funny because
Theodore Beikel.
Huh?
Theodore Beikel. Very
That's
funny
right.
in it.
And and Jewison had done that
Yeah.
around the same time as his first films.
Yes.
You know, so it was he was sort of deciding what he wanted to do with his career.
Yeah.
Eventually, he'd become more kind of an activist director.
Well,
The Russians Are Coming was very funny, but
Yeah.
eventually he became really out there, really like with the hurricane and these.
Well,
crazy...
you know, I mean, look, during that early period, he would go on to do everything from In the Heat of the Night, which won Best Picture, and he was producer and director of that, to, Fiddler on the Roof. So
Okay, from Lady Dio.
Moving on.
Again,
We could talk
lightning
forever.
round. Buy, rent, or burn. Lady Dio from the chat room wants to know about The Lawnmower Man.
Burn.
I'm not feeling that. Burn it. Not feeling it.
It's one of those.
Relic. It's a relic.
Yeah, it's a relic.
There is the worst movie. If for those of you who are new, we have Buy, Rent, or Burn, or the worst movie of the year. Movie of the year
Airbender.
right
Last
now, which right
Airbender.
now is The Last Airbender. Just to let you know, we can go to that.
No, I would just say burn.
No, burn. It's just
From Russ Lengaga in the chat room, Syndromes and a Century.
You know, that's, you know what? Okay, first of all, say his name because I can't say it. Go, Joe. He's called Joe,
yeah.
but his real name is Apakachuka Apikapaka.
a
Spookaglaka Obligabla.
forget it. He's
A
a Thai
smoothie
director.
blimmin', a fluty flammel.
The guy who won the Palme d'Or this year at Cannes. Famous Thai director, long name. Everybody just calls him Joe.
I like Syndromes in a Century. It was, you know what? It's incomprehensible.
It is. I'd say Rent. It's really impenetrable. If you're a super duper kind of obscure crazy Asian film fan, you'll love it. You'll want to watch it over and over and over, and just it's like Altered States, you know, in that sense. But
I would say Rent it just
just
to see a completely experimental, bizarre world cinema director.
But if you're not into it in 10 minutes, send it back because it doesn't change.
It ain't getting better.
It doesn't improve it.
All right. From chat room, Video Clerks 2 asks about happiness.
Well, sure. Well, but do you want to buy happiness?
I would say buy because I think it's an awesome film. I think it's Todd Solondz's best film.
Sure.
But
rent
it because that movie goes into some really twisted places.
Because here's what will happen: you'll buy it, you'll put it on your shelf. Your mom will come over and go, "Oh, Star Wars, Serpico, what's this happiness about?" You know what? Mom is going to run screaming.
And by the way, you know the semi-sequel to that film,
Life During Wartime.
Life During Wartime opens tomorrow.
I believe that's what motivated the request.
Probably did, which opens with almost a very similar scene.
We have very smart viewers.
It's a very similar opening scene in the restaurant to people, and it goes equally psycho.
Interesting.
All right.
John Lovitz.
From
amazing opening scene.
The chat room. Remember, it's a live show, 8 o'clock every Thursday. So
Yeah.
the chat room very busy as always. Gypsy asks about Shallow Grave.
Oh, bye.
I saw
totally bye.
I saw Shallow Grave. I'll tell you where I saw Shallow Grave. I saw Shallow Grave in Leicester Square in London before it was released in the United States. So nobody knew who Danny Boyle was. He was this guy that nobody knew
who Ewan McGregor was.
No. And Shallow Grave was just terrific, and soon after that it came to the States and he became Danny Boyle.
I interviewed Danny Boyle. Ewan McGregor was, like, that movie made him a star. I interviewed Danny Boyle at the junket for that film. I didn't know who he was. Some guy from British television. Here comes this little leprechaun, elfin-looking guy with more energy than I've ever seen in a human being in my life. Scared the death out of me. I said, you know what, this guy is going to be hot. Little did we know.
You were wrong.
He's so talented. That movie is that is an awesome film, Shallow Grave.
All right.
The first of the Bags of Money films.
And we go to the chat room again. Kratos asks about Amadeus.
Wade hates Amadeus so much. You hate that film, don't you?
Really?
I have problems with it.
Oh, I thought you loved it.
Amadeus?
Yeah, I thought you
no,
loved
I have
Amadeus.
huge problems
That's my
with
sister's
Amadeus.
favorite film.
I have big
That's
problems
producer
with it.
Mike's sister's favorite film. It says it on the back of the DVD box.
I'm going to say
Producer Mike's sister's favorite film.
I'm going to say Rent It, just because it's such an iconic film. It won Best Picture. It's you know, Milos Forman and
Rent It. Move on.
But the casting and the way
Mark
the story's
says Rent.
told, I have
Rent.
problems.
You're not even saying bye.
No, I'll say Rent It.
Rent.
It's, I liked it a lot more than Wade did,
All
but
right.
still.
Nightmare
Yeah.
54 asks about The Cowboys.
Interesting. I'm going to say Rent. Rent It, it's not a great Western by any means, but it has a wonderful John Williams score. Really, really great John Williams
Early
score.
John Williams.
Early John Williams, which makes it worth watching all by itself. Otherwise, you know, Rent It, it's a fairly average kind of late 60s, early 70s film.
Rent It.
Do we get the rents? Were the rents already up?
Oh, yeah, he got it right.
All right.
There's another.
Mark
All right,
Mark Rydell directed it, by the way.
One more from the chat room.
From,
I got a couple
on
from the
Golden
message
Pond.
boards.
Yeah.
One from the chat room. Red Dragon 132 asks about Mulan.
That wasn't one of my favorite Disney.
I assume we're talking about the Disney,
Disney one?
and not the live action? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I would say not one of my favorites. I'd say Rent It because you're probably done with Beauty and the Beast and Toy Story.
Rent It.
Something new.
Rent It because Donny Osmond's singing voice rocks.
Oh, boy.
Wow.
I don't know. I just...
Somebody's got purple socks on.
It's one of the odd things in it.
Nobody gets that unless you're from the Donnie Marie show from the 70s.
Yeah,
You wore purple socks every
the
show.
Singing,
That is
the
true,
singing
actually.
voice,
I'm a
the
TV
singing
nerd.
voice, and the speaking voice don't quite match. So it's fairly obvious that they're like throwing a switch every time they go to a song.
Let's go to the message boards. Stupidformovies.com. We have message boards, and we got a couple from message boards. Spar07 asks about The Orphanage.
Oh, sure. That's a
Orphanage
terrific
is
film.
a terrific film.
I would, if you like that sort of film, I would definitely say buy it.
I'll say Rent. It's not everybody's kind
And
of
what
film.
sort of film is that?
It's a creepy horror. How do you explain that? Really?
It's psychological. It's like
It's about an orphanage.
Yeah, it's like psychological creepy.
It's very Guillermo
very-
del Toro-y.
It's very ghosty. It's not like gore movie. It's sort of a ghost film. It's
I like
creepy.
how when you put Y on the end of any word, it becomes like an adjective. Oh, it's very Guillermo del Toro-y.
So it's adjectivity.
It's adjectivity.
All right, we got one more.
Rent It.
From
Rent
It's you know what I like about this next film Mike's about to say?
Yep.
It's very orphanagey.
This is very Buy Renter Bernie.
Okay.
From Preposterousy.
Yes.
Series 7, The Contenders.
Oh, so buy. Oh, so buy.
We love Series
so
7.
Buy. You know what? This movie was a bit of a sensation at Sundance, and then it was released. It made like $10.27 in theatrical release here because the reality television revolution had not yet happened. So this is about a game show. This is even better than The Running Man. It's about a game show where people basically have to go kill you surprise someone at the door, hand them a gun, okay, now it's kill or be killed. You got to go kill the other people who are on the contenders, and everyone tunes in, and the whole thing is shot as though from the game show point of view. It's brilliant because the woman is pregnant and she's blowing people away. It's so awesome.
So how is that compared to Battle Royale? Sounds similar.
You know, I would say it's an awesome double feature for the kids.
There you go. Well, all right.
Philip Nelson, write that down. Parental guidance next week.
Yeah,
Battle Royale.
I don't think. Yeah.
Wow.
So all right, so there you go. That was a good one to end on.
That was a great one to end on. Series 7 is one of those forgotten films of like.
So
the
that's
last
Byron or
50 years.
Burn.
Yeah.
I was trying.
Wait, let's try it. Hold on.
Okay. I
We
was
couldn't
trying
get it.
to wrap it up with a comment from Wade, and I was going to say, hang on, come back to me. I'm going to wrap it up like I was going to. Wade, that's a great way to end the segment, right? That's a terrific recommendation, don't you think? And there it was, by Richard Bird! Yes! Yes! Yeah! Oh, boy! This is what happens when your producer doesn't trust you. What did I do? It's unbelievable. All right, so but before we wrap it up, I'm about to say something that, as you know, I've already said, which is that YouTube, if you watch the show on YouTube, go to youtube.com.
If you're watching this right now, you're watching it on YouTube.
On YouTube, go to youtube.com, type in Stupid for Movies, write this down, wait. It's going to change. Because Mike, producer Mike, who is the founder, CEO, and CFO of the Streaming Garage, is going to take all of his shows, which include Stupid for Movies and Stripped Down Live with Tears for Fears' Kurt Smith, going to put them all under the banner of youtube.com Streaming Garage. So if you are subscribed to Stupid for Movies, you need to unsubscribe, and you should subscribe to Streaming Garage. Now, producer Mike, is that Stream In Garage?
Stream In, and right now you're watching this on YouTube, and you'll see right now it's going to pop up. There it is. Subscribe button. Hit that right now.
That was awesome.
It's going to take you there, and you subscribe. That's it. It's that simple.
Look at that. So please go ahead and do that, because we're on YouTube, right? We're on YouTube. Hopefully soon we'll have whole episodes on YouTube, which would be great, but it will all be under the Streaming Garage banner.
Right now,
Mike?
do this. Go like this. Go. Subscribe.
Subscribe.
There you go.
Look at that.
Wow, that's technology.
How did you do that? It's just floating there.
Oh my
God!
God! Magic.
You know what else I can do that's really exciting?
All right, wait.
I can make this show end right now.
No, you can't. No, you can't. No, you can't. No, you can't. Wednesday night. What's going on Wednesday night?
One more announcement, Mark.
Wednesday night.
Wednesday night, Stripped Down Live with Tears for Fears' Kurt Smith. I just said that.
With Karina Round.
With Karina Round.
Live on your stream.
Mike, why don't you just do it?
Step in. And now we're going to go ahead and close the show.
Good night, everyone.